what that sounds like. But let's address another elephant in the room, right? And so when you have reggae music, as this what's considered rebel music, right? And a lot of times reggae music or the artists that push reggae music and the church are at odds. And so reggae music is rebellion music. What they do, they rebel and revolt against colonial Christianity, right? So what's considered a white man religion imposed on black people by, colonials, by Europeans. And so you had this resistance. And then you had the church on one end that, embraced in a lot of ways a Eurocentric Christ, a Eurocentric Christianity, and the two bump heads for a lot of times. And so as reggae, you have artists like Bob Marley and stuff like that, talking about political and social injustice. And it seemed like, and it's not every church, but a lot of churches were just, in the churches, in the walls, singing Kumbaya, praying or what have you. And so there was this clash, right, that seemed to actually happen back in the day. Right? And again, it's not every church, and so you had this clash that was happening, and so the church didn't really embrace reggae. Now, you had churches who were speaking up and out against, racism and social injustice and all of those things. But I want to say one of the things that reggae music resists is not so much Christ in and of himself. They resisted what was a whitewashed Christ, a whitewashed Christianity. And I want to say, that Rastafarianism has its roots in Ethiopia. And if you know anything about Ethiopia, in Africa, Ethiopia has some of the oldest churches. The oldest Bible on record is in Ethiopia. Some of the most churches in the world are in Ethiopia. Emperor Haile Selassie I was an Ethiopian Orthodox Christian. And so a lot of, Christianity and evangelism, from its pure sense, so Ethiopia never adopted the Church of Rome. Ethiopia was never really, Roman Catholic in that sense. So you had a split. Even, the calendars are different, the celebrations are different. And so Christianity was in Ethiopia, in Africa as general, in Kush and Sudan and all these places long before it was in Europe. While Europe was still, mainly pagan, in Africa there was Christ. If you read Acts chapter 8, you had the Ethiopian eunuch, where he was reading the book of Isaiah, had Philip run up to the chariot and ask him, look, do you know what you're actually reading? And the eunuch said, like, how am I going to know what I'm reading? And Philip explained the book of Isaiah to him, and then they saw some water, and the eunuch pretty much is an Ethiopian official, right? A high-ranking official.